Welcome to another episode of the Nintendo Powercast. I'm your host N64 Josh for this Nintendo News Minute, and we're gonna jump right into this thing. We got a little bit of news, some interesting rumors, and also we're gonna start something new where we're gonna look at today in the history of Nintendo, and that's gonna happen on each of these shows. So here we go. Let's jump into this here. First off, over at Nintendo Life, we got a handful of indie games coming out. Devolver is shooting Weird West Definitive Edition over to the Switch. We have a tweet from Devolver Digital says, "Hot damn, we got retail leaked. Weird West Definitive Edition coming to Nintendo Switch, though we aren't sure when quite yet. Keep a look on the horizon for this gunslinger." So apparently this wasn't meant to be announced yet, but they're having some fun with it, which I absolutely love. I love that they're, kind of like when the Xbox Series S leaked and they just kind of put the gif of the monkey like looking around like well, this is awkward. So I love that they're kind of just leaning into it. There's a handful other indie games I want to take a look at here. This isn't an indie title, but it is coming to the Nintendo eShop, and it's Tetris the Absolute Grandmaster 2 plus slots into Hamster's Arcade Archives next month. And so there is a tweet from TGM underscore series, and it says, "We are pleased to announce that we have licensed Tetris the Absolute Grandmaster 2 Plus to Hamster Inc. for porting to Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 4. There's a number of ways to play Tetris on the Switch. Of course, you've got Tetris 99, but the this is the sequel to Tetris the Absolute Grandmaster. The first game also available on the Switch. Until I did a little bit of research this morning, I was unaware of that. Continuing on here with some of the indie games, The Blind Prophet is on its way to the Switch. It says brings point and click action and comic book visuals to the Switch this week. Take a look at some of the quotes here. It says, "Sent by God, you play the role of Apostle Bartholomeus on a divine mission to liberate the city from evil forces plaguing it. See through the illusion." This is from the description of the game here. You are use your extraordinary power, Stalker's Eye, to detect demonic corruption. Find clues to move forward on your hunter's path and continue the story. You are not alone. Vic, the owner of a local tattoo studio, is happy to return the favor for help. She has given. She knows the town well and will tell you what and where. Edward is an expert regarding the history of the place, antiques, and various symbolic items, which can be handy for you. It says Blood and Dirt, an engaging storyline with horror and gore elements and a dose of black humor. Don't worry, the police will not interfere. Handy tools, open locks, and activate devices with more than just artifacts for everyday objects. Collect abandoned parts. You never know when you might need an extra hand or an eye. Seems a little bit spooky. There's a few screenshots here at Nintendo Life and some very, very interesting artwork. Not like something I'm used to seeing, honestly. Point and click games, not really games I would typically go for, but if that's your jam, make sure to check out The Blind Prophet. Next up, we are moving over to a rumor. Now, this is an older rumor. This is from March, but I was doing a little bit of digging this weekend for some Nintendo rumors. I'm like, I want to see, I want to see what's out there. And this is the one that really piqued my interest. So this is from Nintendo, mynintendonews.com. The rumor is Activision were developing a Donkey Kong game after Skylanders and has since moved to EPD. So again, grain of salt here, but sometimes it's kind of fun to delve into these things. So it says a fresh new rumor has emerged today via Family Boards regarding the much-loved Donkey Kong franchise. The project was apparently being handled by Activision's Vicarious Visions, and work started on the game in 2016. Legendary Nintendo designer Shigeru Miyamoto was overseeing the project and reportedly enjoyed what he saw. However, the game was eventually moved over to Nintendo EPD Tokyo in 2018, sometime after the release of the excellent Super Mario Odyssey. It is thought that the Donkey Kong game in development was a reboot and is a 3D platformer rather than 2D, like Rare and Retro Studios' Donkey Kong Country series. The new Donkey Kong game is thought to be targeting Nintendo's next system and would fit in well with Nintendo's plans to add a Donkey Kong themed attraction area at Super Nintendo World. So could be interesting, could be nothing, but they're, they mentioned the Donkey Kong theme attraction area at Super Nintendo World, but think about how much love Donkey Kong has received in the last uh in the last few months with the Mario movie, in particular. Like, he, at times was kind of stealing the show. And so is there a chance that that there's a new Donkey Kong game on the horizon? I feel like it. I feel I've been thinking this for a while. So when I saw this rumor, I was like, "Yo, we gotta unpack this a little bit and see if there's anything to it." Again, I went through the Family Board post, and I don't even want to put it up on the screen because of the things I was seeing. A lot of people don't think it's anything, but here's to hoping there is something new with Donkey Kong, because I would love to jump back into the Donkey Kong franchise, and I wouldn't mind seeing now maybe this was real, maybe this has since changed, because what if Mario and Donkey Kong get to team up just like they did in the movie for a game that plays similar to Mario Odyssey or Mario 3D World, Super Mario 3D World. I would be on board with that too. To see the different moves, like, maybe Donkey Kong could throw Mario, maybe there's some different elements there that, like, really get to see these two team up for the first time in a game, and have some just some really interesting interactions from the power-ups and everything like that. So and this is the first Nintendo News Minute I've been doing live, so I'm gonna grab a few of the chats here. Car Gaming says new Donkey Kong game is just a rumor. It's just a rumor right now, so we don't we're just going down to speculation town. And I was digging up some rumors. I was actually having AI dig up some rumors for me, and it came up with this. So I wanted to kind of dig into it a little bit more. But apparently, there is a chance that Activision was at one time working on a Donkey Kong game. Again, grain of salt with everything. And this is the kind of thing that, like, I would really love to see. I mean, Donkey Kong and Bowser were both part of Skylanders. There are amiibo. The only two amiibo, or if there's four, because there's a special edition of each one of them as well. They're the only four amiibo I'm technically missing, but they are tied to the Skylanders series. And so Activision has had a little bit of time with Donkey Kong and Bowser. So, there could be some validity to all this. We may never know, honestly, if Nintendo EPD did take it over. Then it's unlikely we'd ever really find out. But there's always that possibility. So with it being a relatively slow news day, I do want to start incorporating this fun little trivia tidbit kind of history of Nintendo. And we're actually going to do a deep dive on this game later today because it's one of my absolute favorites. And I just happened to open up my browser today and take a look. And over on nintendo.fandom.com, Nintendo, this day in history, there's a number of things that came out, but there's one in particular that we're going to hang out on. So the one that is near and dear to my heart, in 2000, Perfect Dark was released in North America on the Nintendo 64. That is one of my most played games and one of probably my most beloved games on the 64, period. Like, Halo was so good on the Xbox, but I still held out for Perfect Dark on the GameCube because of how much I loved it on 64. And then Microsoft bought Rare. And then Perfect Dark Zero came out on the Xbox 360. And well, the game it wasn't nearly as good. And there's a reason for it. We'll talk about it shortly. In 2008, Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock was released in Japan for the Wii. In 2009, EA Sports Active was released in Europe for the Wii. And in 2009, Punch-Out was released in Europe for the Wii. And lastly, in 2009, Pokemon Platinum was released in Europe for the DS. But I put together an article over on n64josh.com talking about Perfect Dark. We're just gonna touch on it here a little bit, just a little bit more. But we're gonna kind of deep dive this thing in its own little Nintendo Powercast Micro is what I'm going to call them. It's even shorter than a Nintendo News Minute. So on this day in history, Nintendo history, Perfect Dark, guys. I can remember I pre-ordered this at Target. The game came with the expansion pack. I want to say it cost me upwards of $90 to $100. So the conversation of 70 of games becoming $70, I'm like, yo, we paid more than 70 for some of these 64 games. I was looking at old advertisements, and we paid upwards of 89.99. Like this one coming with the expansion pack, it was probably more like $120 because that expansion pack I think was around $30. But anyway, let's take just to give you a brief history of Perfect Dark. It says the premise of Perfect Dark revolves around Joanna Dark, an agent of the Carrington Institute Research Center, as she attempts to thwart an extraterrestrial conspiracy led by the rival corporation Datadyne. The game is played from first-person perspective and does not have a jump ability. Players interact with the environment using a single context-sensitive button, which can activate computers, operate lifts, and open doors. And so, this is essentially the sequel to GoldenEye, but obviously it wasn't licensed. This became a basically a Nintendo IP, but then it was second party because Nintendo had owned Rare and then sold it to, or was a majority shareholder, whatever the case may be, and then Microsoft took it over. So they took some of the IP with them as well, and Perfect Dark went over there with it, which was a bummer. Kind of made it really bummed me out. The thing that was so special about this game in particular for me was the multiplayer aspect of it, where you could set up bots to have multiplayer. So it was one of those cases where I played this game so much I got really good at it, and anybody in my friend circles, they weren't it wasn't fun, right? And so being able to um set up the bots as like with really hard difficulty. My uncle and I in particular used to play a mode where we would use what they called a turtle sim, and the simulants were the different bots, and the turtle sim had shields already, and then you could set them for different difficulty. We would set them on dark was the hardest. They would literally shoot you around corners. It was ridiculous. And we would hunt the turtle sim. And I remember situations, if you guys have listened to the show for a while, I'm sure you've heard me talk about this, but we would there were certain levels where you could shoot out the glass floor and the bot would fall. So we would like throw mines up there, make him fall through the floor, kind of like lead him to certain areas, and then set traps with maybe some more mines down below. We had a really good time, sometimes just setting it on the easiest they call them meat sims, which we always thought was hilarious. And we would just try to kill as many as we could as fast as we could, and see who could rack up the most points that way. So it gave you the option for different ways to play, whereas with GoldenEye that was not there. With GoldenEye, you were just playing against each other, and I mean, we made the most of it. We had a blast with it, of course, but adding bots just it really kept the game fresh. And I remember I have my 64 safe pack. My kids deleted it, unfortunately, when they were younger, but I had 32 days played because because on this game I wanted to get to the longer you played multiplayer, the more you leveled up, and level 1 was perfect, and I got to level 2 near perfect. And so I would literally leave to work with a rubber band around my trigger and meet Sims just running at my laser that I had firing, and I would just collect all these kills all day long while I was at work. Sometimes I'd come home and the system had like frozen because it couldn't handle it. But I found out later it didn't count against The Sims. You had to play multiplayer against people, which I mean, I played hours and hours and hours of this game. Like I said, I had 32 days, but it still wasn't enough. I hadn't racked up enough kills or whatever against friends to get the perfect ranking within the game. And this wasn't online. There was nobody. It was bragging rights amongst friends only. You know, if I could take my save pack over to a buddy's house and they could see that I was near perfect or perfect, it was like, whoa, you put a lot of time in. But there was really it was really nothing more than that. So one of my most beloved games. Like I said, we're going to take a deep dive into the history of this game. I'm going to do that later on today, and talk about what happened. There's a little bit of controversy with this game, not only with its rating, but there were some things that happened internally with the team that they split off. And in my opinion, those people that split off were probably the best talent that was at Rare at that time, because of the game that came later from that team when they started a new development studio. So we're going to talk about all that. We'll get into the history of Perfect Dark and all that fun stuff in a second episode. So I want to ask the chat real quick before I jump out of here, because these are just the Nintendo News Minute. Is there do you guys have any history with Perfect Dark? Let me know. I want to read your comments real quick. I am going to start doing these shows live daily in the morning, depending on your time zone. I'm shooting for a 10 a.m. Pacific. Tuesdays I may go a little later because I'm going to try to hop on over to the Xbox Factor podcast. But other than that, most days of the week is going to be around 10 a.m. Pacific. That'd be 11 Eastern. And so I'm giving chat just a couple more seconds here to see if anybody has any kind of history with Perfect Dark. There is a new game coming to Xbox. The studio has been dubbed I believe wait I no, I can't remember the name of the studio off the top of my head now. I was thinking Coalition, but that's the guys making Gears. But they are dubbing this uh a quad a 4A instead of triple a 4A studio. And so I will have I will have more info on that during that next episode. The only comment I got is from Joe here, and this is great. This is great. It says, "Unfortunately, I was only a year old in 2000, and I have nothing to add, but I like hearing how much you love the game." So there you go. I love that. Well, guys, thank you for being here with me live. Of course, thank you if you're listening after the fact. I do want to start doing something fun. I'm going to start reading and putting up the most interesting comment I get on the YouTube video. So if you head over to the YouTube channel and this is on N64Josh, youtube.com/at N64Josh, leave a comment. I am going to start reading some of the most interesting comments, or perhaps a comment of the day. I'm not sure. If you head over there and leave a comment there. So thanks again for listening, guys. This was short and sweet. Much love, everybody, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye now.